I'm delighted to welcome Ursula Jacob to the show. She's a former Wexford camogie player and a sports pundit. Ursula, it's great to have you on, but I'm disappointed in the topic that we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's becoming very prevalent, particularly amongst females, and online trolling and abuse. And it just seems to have gone to another level really in the last couple of months. And it just seems to be relentless and happen every week to a different person. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not a nice topic to talk about. But I think if we don't talk about it, we're not going to see any progress either.
Absolutely. I guess for anybody that's tuning in, give us a quick recap on what's happened, and we'll share the story with everybody.
Yeah, so look, most people probably know at this stage that I work on the Sunday game as part of the hurling and camogie panels. I was working last Saturday for the Clare v Kilkenny All-Ireland Senior Hurling semi-final, working as normal on a Saturday. So Sunday was kind of my break, and it was my relaxing day, and I was looking forward to watching the other semi-final. And I just randomly was scrolling on my Facebook page, and I saw this article pop up, and the headline was something like along the lines that Ursula Jacob receives a hammering on the Sunday game. And it alarmed me straight away, because it made me, first of all, question, have I missed something? Mm-hmm. You know, what are they referring to? So I went into the article, and I see that they based the article on two individuals tweeting that they didn't like hearing my Wexford accent, or they didn't like my voice. And basically this page on Facebook, which is 267,000 people liking it, created an article out of that to basically facilitate, you know, a personal attack on me and make nasty comments about me. And it was, when you went into the article, you're like, is that it? Two people tweeted that they didn't like seeing me on the Sunday game. So I suppose I was quite upset by it, because I knew that this article was going out to a wider audience than mm-hmm. just an individual tweeting out they didn't like me. This was going out to over 260,000 people who liked that page on Facebook. And I'm thinking, God, if people believe everything they read or believe the headlines, they're going to think, God, what did Ursula Jacob do so wrong on the Sunday game? Mm-hmm. So I was obviously initially quite upset. I was very taken aback by it. The one positive I will take from it, when I did actually go into the article, and comments were coming in very, very quickly underneath it. And surprisingly, which was great to hear and see, was that 99% of the comments that were coming in were fully supporting me and being very, very critical of the page itself. So I just it was niggling away at me kind of Sunday evening, Monday morning. And I kind of just started writing my now statement that has gone out since yesterday evening. And I said, you know what? I kind of spoke to my family, to my husband, and I said, I know I'm probably putting myself out here by putting out a statement onto my social media platforms, but I just felt at this stage enough was enough, and mm-hmm. it was coming to a head. I don't have any problem that everyone doesn't always like me. That's part and parcel of the job. I've no problem if they don't agree with the points that I make on the Sunday game, or my analysis, or my whatever, my viewpoint on a particular player. You're not, that's life. Mm-hmm. A healthy discussion and debate is what we all want. But when it gets personal, when it's making nasty digs about you, a lot of them that are very untrue, but that can be very, very hurtful, and they're coming from faceless and nameless people, I just said, no, I'm not standing for that any longer. I played camogie at the highest level for 30 years, basically, whether from my club and my county. Yeah. And I never felt like I would allow myself to be bullied on the pitch. And I wasn't going to allow myself to be intimidated by keyboard warriors. So that's kind of where the statement came out then yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I guess my question for you is, you know, they found a couple of tweets, and then there was stories shared by, the article was written by Benchwarmers, and then one of the pages that shared it was GA Crack, which has, as you said, it has 275,000 followers. Do you feel that they're kind of, you know, lighting fire to something and allowing the story to to grow and maybe kind of feeding into the culture, as opposed to they didn't have to share the story. And if there's only a couple of comments there, they can just leave it be. Like, what did you kind of feel that their angle was?
I genuinely feel so frustrated by it because, as you said, it was based on two individuals who have a couple of followers on Twitter, and they based an article and a headline on that. And I'm not.
And the headline is it can be misleading, as you said. You did directly quote the headline there.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, like, if people just kind of scroll past that, they don't get the full story. And then when you click into the actual article, like, there's not really much in it. And it doesn't necessarily seem like maybe benchwarmers are coming down on a side, but as you said, they're giving traction to two people as opposed to maybe a widespread audience. And
that's it.
You're feeling like they're basically trying to get more people to agree with these comments, is it?
Yeah, and I'm not even, I suppose, I'm looking at the bigger picture here too. It's not just about this one page on Facebook, because there's lots of other similar pages that are out there that are like, you've the anonymous people behind these accounts. And I didn't see any justification for writing that article. I saw, when I look back on some of the previous articles they wrote about other pundits in the last number of weeks, you know, I saw for one article was calls for Joanne Cantwell to be sacked from the Sunday game. You know, what were they basing that on? Another one was about Anna Geary and that she was rude live on air. And again, creating this article, feeding into the narrative that whether it was, and I've given two examples of females, but they've targeted lots of the male pundits as well. But pages like these, it's like they're trying to create this negativity around the individuals.
Yeah.
And they're not making it for a healthy discussion or a debate. They're not saying Ursula Jacob strongly tipped Kilkenny to win that game, and there's the discussion open. They're making personal remarks and comments about me directly. That has absolutely nothing to do with my job that I did on Saturday. So that's where I'm coming from, that it's when it goes to the personal nasty level, whether it's me or anyone else, that's completely not, that should not be tolerated or accepted. And I suppose that's where a lot of my frustration and upsetness and all the different emotions have come from, because I don't think these pages should be allowed to create that kind of content. I have no problem with debate and discussion on points that are raised on the Sunday game or whatever else. But make it about the game itself. Make it about the discussion or the analysis that we've covered, not about whether I have a strong Wexford accent or I'm a female speaking on a male hurling match.
Yeah, no, and look, we've definitely seen this before across a couple of different sports where female pundits are made feel like they're not welcome in the sport, and on the you know, you can see it on Twitter, you can see it on other social media platforms as well, where people are saying things, whether about accents or voices or you know, analysis and knowledge of the game. And I know your point was that you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, and as you said, you're happy to discuss that and for people to disagree with you on that. But what other kind of experiences have you had? This obviously was one where it all just came to a head, and you just said enough was enough.
Yeah, and just coming back to your point there, I work mainly with males on the hurling panels, and I couldn't feel more supported by them. They are open to listening to my views. I'm fully supported by everyone on RTE. I never have felt going into that environment intimidated or not wanted to be there. They value my opinion. They know I'm not there to make up the numbers, or I'm not there for tokenism, which I never want to be. I'm there to give my opinion. But it's when and the thing is, the ironic and funny thing in all of this, a lot of these trolls or anonymous people, or even people that will stand by their name and write the nasty comments, they generally just target it on the fact that why is there a woman speaking about a hurling match? And two, I can't stand her voice. I can't stand her Wexford accent. I'm born and raised in Wexford. I live in Wexford. I'm 36 years living in Wexford. My accent is not going to change. I'm not looking to have a Dublin accent, a Cork accent, a Galway accent. That's who I am. And wouldn't be very boring and very bland if we all spoke the exact same and looked the exact same on television? Is that what they want? Us all to be in uniform, speaking in the exact same manner. So they never actually really target me about my knowledge or my analysis that I cover. It's always questioning, why is the woman speaking about the men's game? Or why is that one with the Wexford accent on the telly? Can we get rid of her? That's the comments that keep cropping up. It's always based on my Wexford accent. And I suppose that hit a strong note too, because I'm very, very proud to be from Wexford. I'm very proud to be a woman working on the Sunday game. Not everyone gets that opportunity. I've had GA steeped in my whole family for all my life. I've watched the Sunday game as a viewer from a very young age, and now I'm working on that platform. And I take a huge amount of honor in that, because it's a brilliant environment to be in. I'm passionate about sport, and I just think some people are living back in the Stone Ages if they can't see that. Why can't a woman speak about the men's game, and why can't men speak about women? Just, we need to open that conversation.
Yeah.
And I just think some people can't move past it.
How do you think we do move past it, and how do you think we tackle the issue? Obviously, there's the online side of things, and then there's, people actually really do have these opinions. So how do we change their opinions?
Unfortunately, we're never going to change everyone's opinion. We have to probably accept that the narrow-mindedness out there will always be in some people. They just can't move past the gender issue. I think the more women we see on television or on podcasts or in newspapers writing about and making it that there's not such an issue about a woman speaking about men's sport, or just opening up that conversation. I think if more like myself are open to that and open to talking about their pride on, they're passionate on GA, soccer, rugby or whatever, it's brilliant to see more representation on these panels. I think it's absolutely brilliant. As long as that the person there, whether it's male or female, has the knowledge, can back up their points and are educated in it, I've no problem. I don't look at the gender, I just look at what someone is saying. And I think if we can all have that little bit more open-mindedness, I think it'll go a long way.
Absolutely. In terms of, like, you're obviously seeing these comments, do you ever kind of not look at Twitter, not look at Facebook, or like, how do you carry on doing your job, which you like very clearly love, but kind of take this commentary that goes with it, and these kind of negative remarks? Like, I know you mentioned that both men and women are getting it, but do you feel that women are getting more, and how do you handle it?
Yeah, well, firstly, I just say I'm on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm private on all three platforms for a reason. The reason being is I don't open myself up to that negativity, because unfortunately, every time I'm on television, I'm always fearful of what I'll see. Like, that's an awful thing to say, that when I'm on television on Saturday, I'll probably avoid social media for a day or two afterwards. Now, I was harmlessly scrolling on my personal Facebook page on Sunday, just very casually. I don't ever go looking for the comments. That's one thing. I'd never be typing my name into Twitter or Facebook, because you
don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it. So I try block it out as much as I can. But when I accidentally came across this article, I suppose I was very taken aback. And on Sunday, I was saying to my family and my husband, I was like, no, the enjoyment is going out of it for me. I can't stick this. This is not my full-time job. I'm doing this on top of my full-time job, and I'm putting myself out there, and I'm getting this kind of abuse, and I'm like, I don't know, is this worth it? I had serious question marks around it. And then I kind of got that little bit of determination in me on Monday, where I said, no, hang on here. I'm not going to allow someone like this who's hiding behind a keyboard to encourage me to quit what I like doing. I thoroughly love working on the Sunday game, but I do fear every time I go on that I'm afraid to nearly look at social media. And some people have said to me, go off social media. But to me, that's not an option. I use social media for informational purposes. I use it for my research when I'm preparing for big games. The solution for me is not to just go off social media. It's my way of staying connected with people. It's my way of, I enjoy social media, the positive elements, and I love taking pictures. I love putting them up on my private Facebook and private Instagram accounts, and I only allow people that I know follow me. And it gets to the stage I'm trying to protect myself, but even I couldn't protect myself. So how does someone else who is public and open on their social media accounts protect themselves if they're constantly seeing negative comments? And just to say, yeah, I would agree, the women pundits or presenters do probably get that little bit more harsher critique at times. Sometimes it doesn't matter if I make the best point ever about a match, or I come up with brilliant analysis, there'll still be the few who'll just still target me because they don't want to hear a woman speak about it.
Yeah, no, we've definitely seen that before, where sometimes it is specifically, down to the gender of a presenter or pundit. And then I think generally in the industry, people are finding it tough at the moment with the kind of freedom of sharing thoughts on social media and that anonymity, and it doesn't matter what the gender. So there's kind of two issues there. In terms of something that's happened before, I know we've covered the story of Katarina Park, where people were essentially sexualizing her, and that was also something that was shared on a Facebook page. It was a Hogan Stand Facebook page, and that's people need to consider what they're putting out there, and make sure that they're being fair to people and not targeting people for certain things. And I guess there's also a responsibility on people in the community as well, that if they find that they don't agree with something, or it's maybe inappropriate comments or unnecessary comments, that they actually report some of them, because you can report some of these things to the likes of Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Obviously people want to share their opinions, but it shouldn't be an environment where we're kind of allowing negativity for the likes of your gender or your voice or your accent or whatever it might be. It has to be within reason, and people do have to feel protected as well.
100%, because there's loads and loads of positives to social media. It's not all toxic, it's not all negative, but those kind of comments, whether it's about Katarina Park or myself or whoever, like it makes me a lot more aware of stuff too. If I saw those comments on that page, I didn't like that page. I was never, subscribed to that page.
Yeah.
But if I saw a similar page that had made comments or nasty personal attacks on someone, I would immediately unsubscribe, unlike, unfollow that page. Why feed into it? Because that's part of the problem too. Some of us will, just kind of take a blind eye to it and say, oh, that's not my issue, that's not my problem, that's nothing to do with me. But if we all took that stance, where do we go then? Because then we're constantly just allowing these people to continue to troll or write nasty things about people. So rather, just in relation to like Katarina Park, like Katrina, I played with her for years and years, and a brilliant athlete and all-rounder, but yet they seem to focus on what, trying to sexualize what she was wearing and made an article out of that. That's disgusting, and it shouldn't be tolerated. And I just hope this sometimes will, as I said to someone earlier today, I said it in my statement, I would just so encourage people to seriously think before they type. I think that's the biggest message I can say to people, that would you say that to someone if you met him along the street, or if you walked up to him face to face and said all these nasty things or sexual comments or whatever? No, you more than likely wouldn't. So why do you deem that it's okay to do it, behind your computer screen or behind your phone? So that's a really important thing. And if it makes a couple of people think, well, then it might move forward, but we've a long way to go still.
Yeah, no, I think it's completely fair, like what you're saying, and like what you're doing is encouraging people to think before they type. And as you said, like, you have to be conscious of what you would say to somebody face to face, and not just because you're behind a screen think that it's okay to kind of unleash on people, and that behind the the fact that you're not meeting somebody in person just because they're on television or just because they're on a social media platform, like they're still real people, and people are seeing these comments. And we've seen people say things like this before, like people don't need to be so past remarkable, and actually remember that on the end of a phone where people are maybe reading comments about themselves is a real person, and to be a bit more considerate, I think, is really what we're encouraging people to do.
And, you know, I completely back up that point. I'm a human being. I've real feelings. I won't deny that I was very, very upset on Sunday. I was really taken aback by it. And then I became, you know, encouraged by the amount of support I was receiving and people messaging me and ringing me. And, you know, that really did give me a lift and a boost. And I really appreciate people taking the time to do that as well. But I'm a strong-minded person. I'm, you know, I've a really good support network around me. But what if there's someone else who's feeling a little bit more vulnerable and they don't have someone to express how they're feeling if they saw a nasty comment? And I mean this across the board. It doesn't have to be someone on the television. It could be a young person.
Yeah, exactly.
What if they're vulnerable or they're feeling low in themselves and they see a nasty comment? That can have serious, serious consequences. And thankfully, look, as I said, yes, I got upset on Sunday, but I'm strong enough to keep going, keep continuing to fight the fight, keep continuing to push the boundaries on stuff. But I'm very lucky also. I've really strong family and friends around me who will back me up. And that's key to it all as well, because that's a wider issue. This is not just about people like myself who are on television. This is about a wider issue. Young people, it's going on non-stop, you know, the kind of online bullying and that, and it's frightening, it's scary. I don't think I'd like to be a teenager these days because everything is done through phones and social media. And I'm strong enough now that I'm an adult. I can take a certain amount of it. But if I was that little bit more younger or more vulnerable, you know, it could have different consequences.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's maybe what we're trying to share with people, is that, you know, there should be accountability with the comments that are happening. And I know some of the social media platforms encourage people obviously to report some of those comments, but like if people see nasty comments, to maybe do that and then also think before you act. But I think in terms of what you're saying, like I'm glad to hear that there is, you know, plenty of people that came back and supported you as well. And, you know, in terms of
overwhelming, to be honest, just to say that and to reiterate it, I'm blown away by the support. And as I said, it's not even 24 hours. And I've had people from all walks of life, sport, media, personal, like, you know, the amount of people have reached out to me. And interestingly, like, you know, we're making an assumption that it's men a lot of the time making these comments, but the amount of men in particular who have come out so strong to me saying how disgusted and disappointed they are that a woman should have to be put up with this kind of nonsense. We're in 2022, and that's nice to hear from it's even more powerful at times when you hear from a man saying that to you, because the more men that realize that, you know, a woman at times has it a lot tougher in many forums, you know, that can really back up a statement too.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of, you know, what you're receiving there and the support that you've gotten is great. That some people are kind of on the right page, and hopefully more and more we'll see this change over time. And obviously from the, you know, women's sport perspective, you know, we need more kind of leaders and pioneers in the industry. So I'm glad to hear that you got the support and that determination to stick at it and not let other people kind of make you feel unwelcome in an environment where you obviously enjoy and feel that you belong, and like you've earned your right in that role. So nobody should make you feel like you don't belong there. But I'm glad to hear about the support anyways, and thanks so much for sharing your story. Hopefully you know, yourself and ourselves at Her Sport will manage to change things for women, and hopefully in terms of the media industry in general, that you know, female or male, anybody will feel welcome, and people will actually just start to consider what they're doing and saying online, because as we said, there are real people at the end of phones and on television and that type of thing. It's you know, would you say it to their face, I think is an important thing to think about.
Yeah, thanks a million.